The British National Radio Sound Preservation and Archival Society are proud to present a remastered instalment of the classic 1950s classic serial, The Newer and Further Adventures of Upright, the story of a late Victorian gentleman, based on the novel by Gravelly Stokes and adapted to a standard sufficient to avoid copyright infringement by Valemere Lake. Episode 4, The Traitor. We had been at sea for 3 days before Mr. Thud deemed it safe enough to share the treasure map with us. On the paper was drawn a circle with some squiggles around it, and in the centre a large cross which took up most of the circle.
There it is, sirs! Treasure Island!
Surely with a name like that, the island will be besieged.
'Tis not the name of the island, lad. The name of the island is Seagull Island.
How exciting! Is it not exciting, Upright? Then these squiggles are seagulls.
No, they are the words. Seagull Island.
Ah, of course. I can read. And what are these squiggles, Mr. Thud?
Ah, well spotted. These squiggles are the seagulls. No. They represent the legendary Ook Ook bird. The island is one of a few places on the good flat earth that they are to be found.
Why are they called Ook Ook birds?
Nobody knows.
What noise do they make?
Nobody knows.
What do they look like?
Nobody knows.
Then I spotted something that the others might not have noticed. This big X must be where the treasure is.
You have put your finger on it, sir.
I'm sorry.
You have smudged it.
Upright, honestly, what an idiot.
It's all right, sir. I have committed the map to memory. For, having shown it to you, I now intend to eat it.
It is a big cross on a small island. How long till we reach the island, Mr. Thud?
Ah, who can say? For though the map shows the island, it does not show where in this whole flat world the island is. But we can eliminate the land, sirs, and concentrate our efforts to look for the island upon the water. Whack! 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 Whack!
Why's Thud up in the crow's nest making them funny noises?
Mr. Thud wants to attract the Ook Ook bird to our ship, so we may follow it.
Pa pa pa! Pa pa pa! Pa pa pa!
Unfortunately, as no one has any idea what it sounds like, he is trying a different noise every few seconds.
Boop! 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 Boop!
Well, I hope he finds it soon. Father hates being cooped up on ship. He can't exercise proper.
Is that why he keeps falling over?
Sort of. Where's your mate Arthur?
I do not know.
I bet he's throwing up again. He ain't a very good sailor, is he?
This is true, and I am glad Miss Cressley has noticed it. For all his bravado and supposed love of adventure, Whippet is as sick as a whippet. You will recall at the end of my previous diary entry, I recorded that Mr. Snivellingly is not to be trusted. Let me tell you what I later discovered of a conversation he had with Mr. Secretly, the solicitor from Australia, acting on behalf of my mother, who has instructed him to sell the boarding-house from which I and my wife, who is unexpectedly expecting a child, make a meagre living, and so prompting me to go on this voyage, in the hope of earning my share of a prize I now know to be non-existent, as we are really seeking treasure. But so long as I have enough to save our livelihood, I do not care from whence the money comes, and so I am continuing upon the voyage. I have now forgotten what I was going to say, and I shall have to read it back over. Ah, yes! Before we began our voyage, I later learned of this conversation between Mr. Snivellingly and Mr. Secretly.
You know what you have to do. Prevent them coming home with the money. Yes, I must have possession of that house. It must be mine for the secret that it holds.
It'll be difficult to stop them. Mr. Thud's a determined man, sir, and Mr. Whippet is not quite the fool Mr. Upright is.
Not quite, no. Almost, but not quite. But it matters not whether they return dead or alive. When they are far enough from shore, sink the ship.
But I might die too, Mr. Secretly, sir.
For the generous remuneration I am paying you, I expect nothing less.
There is one lifeboat.
Then you must ensure you and no one else uses it. Make a hole in it, to be sure.
Won't it sink, then?
Ah, but only you will know where the hole is. Now, off you go, before they get suspicious.
Oh dear, choppy waters, choppy waters.
Why's that horse cantering about my ship like that? You upset it?
Father can sense a storm is coming.
A storm never hurt anyone. It might attract few hook birds. Twiddle, 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 twiddle.
Oh dear, oh my.
You all right, Mr. Whippet?
Yes,
Whippet, you're being sick again.
I know.
You really are a bad sailor, and you like fish so much. Remember all the cod you used to eat? I have been sick but once, and that was no fault of the rolling sea.
Oh,
It was the large meal I ate at breakfast. Do you remember it? It was fish, though not cod, cooked in greasy hot butter.
That weren't butter.
By Miss Cressley's fair hand.
oh,
And luncheon. You must remember luncheon, Whippet. You threw it up too.
be quiet.
It was hair oil for horses. Weren't fish, neither. Mr. Thud shot a seagull with his musket.
Yes, that horse can sense it. The waters are rising. We must strap ourselves to the mast and sing hymns until we strike dry land.
This is my chance to sink the ship and escape in the lifeboat.
What is that you said, Snivellingly?
Nothing, sir.
Something about a lifeboat.
Lifeboat? Where is it? Women and horses first? I'm afraid it's got an hole in it. Where is it? Under the seat?
Oh, no, I told you.
The lifeboat is not under the seat. Whippet is. Leave me alone. Search all the seats.
No, sir. Follow this man.
Oh dear.
Follow the sniffing.
We soon found the lifeboat, but it did indeed have a hole in it.
We must stuff the hole with something relatively small and absorbent.
Snivellingly. He won't do, Whippet. He might be small, but he is not absorbent. His handkerchief, I mean. Try that.
I haven't got a hanky, sir.
I gave you one, man.
I used it, sir. It didn't last long. They never do.
We can use one of your socks, Upright. You have dozens. I do not carry my socks about with me on my person. They are in my cabin. The ones on your feet. Why not the ones on your feet?
Stop squabbling and get 'em off, both of you.
Capital idea.
And you.
I do not wear socks, madam. I am an explorer.
Fortunately, I do have a spare pair in my pocket, but I was not going to admit this. I would find a time to put them on once we had got to safety.
There we are. Now let's bung the hole up.
Success! Until we lowered the boat into the water, and it promptly sank.
So much for that. Back to tethering ourselves to the mast.
No, Choppy! The horses do not like it, sirs. They do not like it.
Horse overboard!
We'll save him.
How?
Get after him.
She pushed Whippet into the sea.
And you.
It was some time before I found myself washed up on dry land, and my diary dried out enough to make these entries. I am on a beach somewhere, in the baking sun. There is no sign of my companions, and it is likely only I have escaped with my life.
Awake at last, eh?
Mr. Thud!
You know where we are, sir. I'll tell you. Seagull Island!
I listened carefully, and for the first time since our voyage began, I could not hear a single seagull. You You have found the ook-ook bird?
Better than that. Look!
I looked to my left, and then realized as he was pointing to my right I ought to look that way instead. And there, in the middle of the sand, was a giant X.
We have found it, with you and the other young man to help you dig and the horses to pull it up. Ha ha! I shall be rich. We shall be rich. I shall be rich.
But there is little chance of this, for we are alone, the others lost to the cruel sea. What's that?
Haven't a clue. Fortunately, my musket and powder remained dry. We have dinner. An explorer who doesn't know where his next dinner is coming from is dead. Looks like some sort of fat seagull. It would go lovely with a bit of kumquat, that would. Ah, well.
This made me think of my dear Sally, waiting patiently at home. We must not fail. Somehow, Mr. Thud, we must find somebody to help us dig up the treasure and acquire more horses to drag it forth.
Oh, didn't I say the others are just over there?
Oh, you're awake at last, Upright. Don't worry, we were just over there. It was true. They were. Miss Cressley has a fire ready, and Mr. Rosynose is trying to break open a coconut with his nose. Where is Mr. Snivelingly? Who? Oh, him. It appears he did not make it. Never mind. Mr. Thud had already started eating the fat seagull, but was persuaded to stop and wait for it to be cooked.
If you like, sirs, but an explorer must eat when he can and where he can.
Is it as nice as cod?
No.
I have opened my coconut,
Oh, well done, Father.
but I have injured my rosy nose.
Oh, never mind. Have some rum.
Upright, you are wearing new socks.
I failed. Mr. Secretly will have me thrown in jail. Unless there's one thing I can do to make sure they never find the treasure.
The next morning we awoke to terrible news. Someone had taken the giant X from the beach. How on earth will we find the treasure now? Do not worry, Upright. Mr. Thud committed the map to memory. After much thought, Mr. Thud began drawing in the sand.
Down here, along here, up here, along here. There, sir! That, without doubt, is the shape of a piece of paper. But the details, the details.
There was a circle
Good man!
and some squiggly writing. We don't need the writing, Upright.
Details, Whippet! An explorer must have details.
Mr. Thud wrote in the seagull writing and drew the ook-ook birds.
Now, it's just the position of the cross I do not recall.
So all we need to do is dig everywhere. Don't be a fool, Upright.
He's right. It's the answer. We shall dig up every inch of this island, and we must find the treasure. It cannot fail.
You're not so clever today, are you, Whippet? After 3 weeks of digging, only 4 square feet of the island was left.
Success, Budge-up. It must be here beneath our very feet.
Mr. Rosynose and his daughter had climbed the one remaining palm tree, where Mr. Rosynose was trying to open a coconut. He has now got very good at it.
Dig, men! Dig!
Suddenly a jet of seawater sprang up through our hole, and the very ground upon which we stood crumbled into the sea. Grab the palm tree!
I push off! You'll sink us!
And sink we did. Down, down, into the depths of the ocean. What hope for I now? You have been listening to The Traitor, being episode 4 of Upright, the newer and further adventures of a late Victorian gentleman, adapted by Valmere Lake from the novel by Gravelly Stones. Next week, episode 5, The Underwater City Beneath the Waves.